Hello everyone, today I'll be doing Biology Paper 3, May-June 2022, Paper 3-1. Okay, so this is a structured paper, but it's core. Okay, so this paper, the total mark is 80, so there'll be quite a few questions, so let's go through it together. Okay. So, question 1. The boxes on the left contain the letters that identify some parts of a plant cell in figure 1.1. The boxes on the right show the functions of some parts of a cell. Draw 5 lines to link each letter to its correct function. Okay, so let's start off by identifying what each letter is. So A is a cell wall, B is a chloroplast, C is a vacuole, D is the nucleus, right? Because it's a different color and it's slightly bigger than the chloroplast. And finally, E is the cell membrane. Okay, so what's next is you need to link these structures to their functions, right? So A is the cell wall. So what's the function of the cell wall? So in here, the function of the cell wall is to strengthen the cell. Okay, so you draw a straight line. A is strengthen the cell. Now B is the chloroplast. So what does the chloroplast do, right? So the chloroplast is where chlorophyll is, right? So what is chlorophyll used for? It's for photosynthesis lah. So what's the function of B? Photosynthesis. Okay. Now C. So what is C? C is the vacuole. So what's the function of the vacuole? To provide support to the cell, to provide turgor pressure, right? For the cell so that it can maintain its shape. Okay, so therefore C would be to fill with sap to support the cell. Okay, D. So what's D? D is the nucleus. Nucleus will contain the genetic material, right? Is where DNA is. Okay. Finally, E is your cell membrane. So what's the function of the cell membrane? So between transport nerve impulses and control which substances enter and leave the cell, obviously the answer of the cell membrane is to control which substances enter and leave the cell. So that's its function. Okay, so that's question 1A done. Now question B. State the names of two different types of plant cell. Okay, this should be quite easy because you can write any kind of plant cell. So for example, you can write root hair cell, right, in the roots, or you can write you can even write xylem or phloem or palisade, mesophyll, or even spongy mesophyll. So any plant cell will work. Any cell that you can find in a plant will work. Okay. Now, C. A student used a potato as a source of plant tissue. A student cut 6 cylinder-shaped pieces from the potato. Each potato cylinder has the same diameter. Each potato cylinder was immersed in either water or one of 5 different concentrations of sugar solution. The student measured the length of the potato cylinders before immersion and after being immersed for 30 minutes. So, what is this experiment about? It's about osmosis. Okay, so I did a video on osmosis, diffusion, and active transport. You can check that out if you are interested. But basically, osmosis is the net movement of water molecules. Okay, from a region of higher potential to a region of lower water potential. Okay, so we look at a table. So they gave us a few columns, right? Concentration of sugar solution, length of cylinder before immersion, length of cylinder after immersion, change in length of the cylinder. Okay. Use the information in table 1.1 to calculate the change in length of the potato cylinder in the 0.8 mol per dm3 sugar solution. Okay, so as you see here, this thing is empty, so we need to fill it in. So what do? It's very easy. From 50 to 49 is minus 1.0. Okay, so the answer will be right here, minus 1.0. Right, okay, you have to put in a one decimal place. You cannot put -1. It will be less accurate because the whole table is in one decimal place. So you have to follow and you have to put one decimal place for your answer here also. Okay. Now, use the information table 1.1 to calculate the percentage increase in the length of potato cylinders immersed in the 0.2 mole per dm cube sugar solution. So how do you find percentage increase? You have to, the equation you use is change, right, over original. Okay, so change over original times 100%. So your answer will be, for the 0.2 would be change is 2. So you put 2 over original, which is 50, right? 50. So 2 out of 50 is equals to 0.04, which is equal to 4%. Okay? So so the change will be 2 over 50 times 100% equals 0.004 in fractions times 100%, you get 4%. So the answer will be 4. Okay. State the name of the process that will cause water to enter or leave the potato cell. So this is the name of the process. The process is osmosis. Okay. And finally, question E. Describe the expected change in appearance of the potato cell that was immersed in 1.0 mole per dm cube sugar solution. So if you see here, the change in length will decrease. So therefore, the potato cylinder loses water, right? So when it loses water, the potato cell would have a smaller vacuole. Because water is stored in the vacuole, right? In the form of cell sap. So therefore, if the potato cell has less water, the vacuole will also be smaller. So you can say the vacuole will shrink or the cell will shrink. Both works. Okay, it'll be smaller. Okay, next question. Question 2. Fig 2.1 is a pie chart showing the percentages of different types of birth control that are used globally. Okay, so here you see there's a condoms, female sterilization, IUD, contraceptive injection, vasectomy, contraceptive pill, and other methods. Okay, state the most commonly used form of birth control. So this one quite simply, which slice of the pie has the highest percentage would be this one, 34%. Okay, female sterilization. So therefore, question AI would be female sterilization. Okay. Okay. Question 2AI, 2AII, right? State the total percentage using surgical methods of birth control. So you just need to add the percentage of the surgical methods, right? So which of these are surgical methods? This one and this one. Okay, these two are surgical methods. Okay, so it will be 34 plus 4 would be 38. Right, 34% plus 4% equals 38%. So the total percentage will be 38. Okay, state two forms of natural birth control. Right. So you can write a few things. You can write abstinence. So this is refraining from sexual intercourse, and you can also use withdrawal, or you can monitor body body temperature, or you can monitor cervical mucus. Any two of these will work. Okay. Now, question 4. State the type of contraception shown in Fig 2.1 that also protects against the spread of sexually transmitted infections. So, the only type of contraception that will protect against STIs would be the barrier methods. So, which of these are barrier methods? The only one is the condom. Okay, so therefore, question 4 is condom. Now, B. HIV infection is an example of an STI. State the name of the type of pathogen that causes the HIV infection. So, if you know what HIV stands for, this should be quite easy. HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus, right? So if the name for HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, what's the pathogen that causes HIV? Well, obviously be a virus. Okay. Now, describe how HIV can be transmitted. Okay, so this question is 3 marks, right? So you need to include 3 ways. Okay, so the first way you can say contaminated blood transfusions, right? You can also say sharing needles, right? So like drug users, they share needles, then you may transfer HIV, or uh, during childbirth, right? When there's a lot of blood, so HIV may be passed from the mother to the child. Okay, or you can also say breastfeeding. Same way, you can pass HIV from mother to child when during breastfeeding, or uh, or during unprotected sexual intercourse. So anything that requires a very large exchange of fluids, right? So if you're sharing, your blood transfusion includes a lot of liquid, right? So if you're sharing any form of fluids, right? If you're sharing a lot of fluids, basically, you can transmit HIV. Okay. Next, question 3. The inheritance of coat texture in guinea pigs is controlled by a single gene. So define the term gene, right? So a gene is a length of DNA that codes for a specific protein. Okay, so your first mark is length of DNA, codes for a specific protein would be your second mark. Okay, now next, Fig 3.1 shows a photograph of a guinea pig with a rough coat and a guinea pig with a smooth coat. The allele for rough coat is dominant and represented by letter R. Allele for smooth coat is recessive and represented by the letter small r. Pedigree diagram showing the inheritance of coat texture in some guinea pigs. Okay, so question. State the total number of guinea pigs with smooth coats. Okay, so smooth is recessive, right? So recessive means you must have 2 R's for it to be expressed, 2 small r's for it to be expressed, right? So if we look at a key, so to have smooth coats, it needs to have 2 small r's. So therefore, yeah, we're looking for this one, we're looking for this one, we're looking for this one, right? These two. So in these 2 generations, how many of them will have smooth coats? Only one, only this one, only F. Okay, because it's the only one that's fully white. Therefore, answer is 1. State the letter of a guinea pig that has a homozygous dominant genotype. Okay, so what does homozygous mean? Homozygous means same. So it's either RR or big R, right? But then dominant means it can only be big R, big R. It cannot be small r, small r. So homozygous dominant means big R, big R. Okay, so which of these pigs are which of these guinea pigs are big R, big R? The only one is D, which is fully gray. Okay, so for question 2, the answer is D. State the total number of male guinea pigs. Okay, this one, it should be easier than the other 2 because the male ones are square, but the female ones are circle. So just count how many squares are there. There's 1, 2, 3 squares, so the answer is 3. Okay. Question C. 2 guinea pigs are bred together. The genotype of the male guinea pig is big R, big R. Genotype of the female guinea pig is big R, small r. Complete figure 3.3 to show the possible genotypes of the offspring, the probability of offspring to have a smooth coat. Okay, so this one you just need to draw out a Punnett square. So this is called a Punnett square, right? So you're crossing the genes. So the male is big R and big R. The female is big R and small r. So the offspring, right, in these 4 squares will be the offspring. You put it together, right? So the male will have 1 big R, female will have another big R. Same for this one, 2 big R's. When the bottom 2 rows will be, the male will give the big R, the female will give a small r, and the same for this, big R, small r. So what's the probability of having a smooth coat? Actually 0%. Why? Because in order to get a smooth coat, you need to have 2 small r's, because r is recessive. So it needs to have its best friend in order to express itself, right? Because this is 1 big R, 1 small r, the small r won't be expressed, so therefore the probability of having a smooth coat is 0%, but the probability of having a rough coat would be 100%. Okay? D. Complete the sentence about breeding. 2 identical homozygous individuals that breed together will be what breeding? The answer is pure breeding. Okay? Now, question 4. 4.1 is a diagram of the female reproductive system in humans. On figure 4.1, circle a part that releases egg cells. Okay, so you can circle this. What is this? This is the ovary. Okay, the ovary will release the egg cells. Draw a label line and the letter W to show where fertilization occurs. So, fertilization will occur here. Right? This is known as the fallopian tube or the oviduct. Okay, here is where fertilization will occur. Draw a label line at the letter X to show where the fetus develops. It will be here. Okay, you have to draw inside this lining. Okay, the fetus will develop inside the uterus lining. So this is X. Part 2. State the name of the process that produces egg cells. So what is this process? It's very simple. It can be only 2 things, right? It's either mitosis or meiosis. Since egg cells are gametes, right? Egg cells are gametes, it has to be produced by meiosis. Meiosis because they need to have half their chromosome number. Okay. Question 3. State the names of 2 parts of the female reproductive system that sperm must pass through to reach the egg cell. Okay. So you can write the name of any part before the fallopian tube, or you can even write the fallopian tube, right? So you can say, you just need a name too, so anything from vagina, cervix, uterus, or the oviduct / fallopian tube. Okay? Now, question B. Showing the changes in the thickness of the uterus lining during menstrual cycle. Use the information of Fig 4.2 to state the number of days during which the uterus lining is shed. So when it's shedding means the thickness will decrease. So therefore, in the graph from this point, right, from this point to this point is how many days? Would be around 7 days, right? So this point is around 7 days. Okay. Draw a line to complete the graph in Fig 4.2 to show the thickness of the uterus lining between day 16 and day 28. So during this time, the lining will be maintained by progesterone. Okay, progesterone maintains the uterus lining, so therefore between these days it would be a straight horizontal line. Okay, you use a ruler, you just draw a straight line. Okay, so it plateaus. Next, state the day of the menstrual cycle where eggs are released. Okay, so so you can say any of 3 days actually. You can say day 13, day 14, or day 15. You choose one. Okay, choose one. Now, C. The menstrual cycle is one of the changes that happens to girls during puberty. Describe the changes that occur in boys during puberty. So it's 3 marks. So you need to write 3 things, right? So you can say that the boys will have facial hair, pubic hair, voice deepens, the sexual organs enlarge. Yeah, so those are some things you can say. So anything related you can write, just write 3 things. Like you can also say like increase not progesterone, testosterone. Okay, or even like growth spurts. Right, so you choose any 3, you can write it down. Now, question 5. Figure 5.1 is a diagram of the human gas exchange system. The list shows the names of some parts of the human gas exchange system. Right, so use the words to list the label in figure 5.1. Okay, so what is this? This is the trachea. Okay, otherwise known as the windpipe, right? But you have to use the words here, so you have to write trachea. So what is this? This tiny ball would be the alveolus. Okay, it's singular, so it's alveolus. This is below the lungs, so this structure is called the diaphragm. So what is this? This is the rib, right? It's the bone that surrounds the lungs. And finally, what is this? This is the bronchus. Okay, so the trachea will split into 2 bronchi into further bronchioles. Okay. Now, state the name of the part of the body through which air enters. So this is quite easy. How do you breathe in and breathe out? Where does air enter? Right? It's either your mouth or your nose. You choose one. Okay. Complete the sentences about the differences between inspired and expired air. Okay. Inspired air contains what oxygen than expired air? So inspired air contains more, right? So we're taking in oxygen, so there'll be more oxygen in inspired air. Inspired air contains how much carbon dioxide than expired air? Less carbon dioxide than expired air, because when we breathe out, we are breathing out carbon dioxide. Okay, the concentration of water one in inspired and expired air varies, so this is water vapor. Okay, carbon dioxide is one of the components in inspired and expired air. State the name of the chemical used to test for the presence of carbon dioxide. So this is a little bit of chemistry. So what do you use to test for carbon dioxide? You use lime water. Okay, it will turn cloudy white. Lime water turn cloudy white in the presence of CO2. Done. Question 5 done. Question 6. Figure 6.1 is a photograph of a section through a flower. Okay, so this is what a flower looks like, a cross section. So state the names of parts labeled A, C, and E. Okay, so let's just label everything. So A is a filament, right? Because you see the pollen on top here. B is the anther, right? So the anther produces pollen, and what holds up the anther is the filament. Okay. C is the petal, right? The flower petal. D is the stigma, where the pollen must fall onto for fertilization to occur. And E is the ovary, and F is the ovule, right? So the ovary will develop into a fruit. The ovule will be the seeds. Okay. So what is A? A is a filament. What is C? C is a petal. And finally, what is E? E is the ovary. Nice. Okay. Part 2. State the function of the part labeled B in figure 6.1. So what's B? B is the anther, right? So as I said, anther is used to produce pollen. Okay? State the letter of the part in figure 6.1 where pollination occurs. So pollination will occur on the stigma, because the pollen needs to fall on the stigma for fertilization to start. Or they ask you to state the letters, they put D. Okay. State one piece of evidence that shows this is an insect pollinated flower. Okay, you can say that the petals are large, so large petals. So the large petals will attract the insects. Okay. Describe the adaptations of the flower structure and pollen in a wind pollinated flower. Okay, 3 things, so you need to write 3 smart things, right? Okay, let's first talk about the flower. Okay, you can say that the flower the flower, okay, you can say the organs, for example the anther and the stigma, are outside, hanging in the flower, right? You can see here they are hanging outside the flower, right? They're very long. You can also so we can talk more about pollen, right? The pollen has to be small, and the pollen can be light, or the pollen can be in large amounts, right? You can see in this picture the pollen is very small and they're very light and they are produced in large amounts. Okay. Question D. Living organisms are classified into kingdoms. The organism shown in Fig 6.1 belongs to the plant kingdom. State the name of one other kingdom. So any kingdom will work. For example, animal, right? You can write fungi, also can, and just any other kingdom that's not a plant. Okay. A scientist measured the mass of carbon dioxide produced by anaerobic respiration in yeast cells for 1200 minutes. Okay, so this is a graph. Complete the sentences to describe the results shown in figure 7.1. The yeast cells produce a total of how many grams of carbon dioxide during 1200 minutes? Okay, so the total mass of carbon dioxide, so what's the highest number, would be right here, right? So what is this number? It will be 7.4. Okay, so they produce a total of 7.4 grams of carbon dioxide. The yeast cells stop producing carbon dioxide at how many minutes? So when it starts to plateau, right here, you draw a line down. You see, this looks around 300, right? So the yeast cells stop producing carbon dioxide at 300 minutes because over here the graph becomes flat, right? It doesn't increase anymore, so it will stop producing carbon dioxide. The investigation was repeated with boiled yeast cells. Predict the effect on the mass of carbon dioxide produced and explain your reaction. Or my prediction, sorry. So the mass of carbon dioxide will decrease, or there will be no CO2 produced. Why? Because the yeast cells would have died. Yeast cells died, right? Why did it die? Because the enzymes would be denatured, right? The high temperature will change the structure of the enzymes, then the enzymes can no longer function correctly, therefore they are denatured. Okay? 3. State the name of one other product of anaerobic respiration in yeast cells. Okay, so anaerobic respiration will produce alcohol, but in yeast cells it will be ethanol. B. The box on the left contains the term respiration, box on the right contains sentence endings. Draw 2 lines to join the term respiration to 2 boxes on the right to make 2 correct sentences. So which of these are correct? Basically, respiration always produces carbon dioxide. This is wrong, right? It can just produce, for example, lactic acid, right? Respiration is necessary for diffusion. Wrong, diffusion is passive. It doesn't need energy. Respiration occurs only in animals. That's wrong. Plants also do respiration. And respiration release energy. That's correct. So you draw a line here like that, right? Respiration uses glucose. That's also correct. You just draw 2 lines like that. Now, state one substance required for aerobic respiration that is not required for anaerobic respiration. So the difference between aerobic and anaerobic is the presence of oxygen. Okay. D. Respiration is one of the characteristics of living things. Tick 2 boxes to show 2 other characteristics of all living things. So which of these is in Mrs. Grant, right? So breathing, is it in Mrs. Grant? No. So you don't take. Excretion, is it in Mrs. Grant? Yeah. Growth, also yes. Photosynthesis? No. Sexual reproduction? No. Okay. So the two is the 2 ticks. And last question. Figure 8.1 is a diagram showing part of the carbon cycle. Draw one arrow in figure 8.1 to represent respiration in plants. So, carbon. So you would draw a line opposite of K. Here, draw it like that. Okay. Now, identify the processes labeled J, L, and M. So what is J? From fossil fuels to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, this would be combustion. Right, you burn stuff. Combustion. L is carbon compounds in plants to animals, would be feeding. Right, the animals feed on the plants. And M is dead organisms to atmosphere, decomposition. Okay. Photosynthesis is process occurring at K. State the 2 products of photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is opposite of respiration, so CO2 plus water equals glucose plus oxygen. So your answer would be oxygen. You write it out, oxygen and glucose. Okay. And the last question. Explain the effect of deforestation on the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So if you cut trees, there will be less photosynthesis. So what happens when you cut trees? Less photosynthesis. Because there are less trees, right? Trees do photosynthesis. So if you cut the trees, there will be less photosynthesis. And then what happens when there's less photosynthesis? There will be more carbon dioxide. Because photosynthesis gets rid of carbon dioxide, right? So if you have less photosynthesis, there will be more carbon dioxide. So that's it for this paper. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, leave a comment. I'll see you all next time.